I'm Phil Clohesy. I started out here as the CEO of GFL in 1997 and moved on from here in 2003. I always saw that girls should be given same opportunities as boys are given in community sport. I came from a country town which had netball seriously in it. There were some other things that were happening behind the scenes, but I was very keen to bring it into the GFL. We're also having some conversations with the Ballerine Footy League about creating Football Geelong. We're also having behind the scenes chat with Colac, who were interested in joining the GFL coming out of the Hamden League, and they had netball. So all of those factors came into my lobbying, I suppose. Firstly with the commission. Well, no, it was the board back then. It was Peter Kelly, and the board embraced the change greatly, and so did the clubs. As all clubs do, they don't all accept it straight away, but it wasn't vigorously opposed. There was change galore happening. Geelong Junior Footy was another one that was happening. We actually introduced a thing in GFL too, quite unique at the time. It's called computers. They didn't have them. They had to go out and find computers. But once the commission said, we're going to do it, we had Carmel Fitzgerald and Colette Gallion, who worked with me to liaise with the clubs. They were fantastic, hard-working, passionate ladies. Getting the people up and representing each club wasn't that hard. That told me that it was going to be a success. They got highly motivated and went out and did their work like they were really inspired, and I was inspired by them. I can't remember them all, but there was an army of people behind these people. At Lara, Fiona Bennett was instrumental, and then at South Barwon, I think was it Chris Brown, Jan Nowicki at Geelong West St Peters, and Carolyn Keast, or Carolyn McFarlane she was, I think, back then, at North Shore, and Kath West and Diane Hutchin at Newtown Chills, Simone Callan at Bell Park, Vicky Nichols and Cherie Vesey at Grovedale. And then Carmel Fitzgerald did St Joseph's, Irene Dunstan at St Mary's. Those people were just unbelievable what they had to do. They had no courts, they had no club rooms, they had no equipment, they had no players. So the work that they did was outstanding. Well, initially each club went out and found a neighbouring school mainly, where they would base themselves and play there. And ironically, I think Lara only in the last few years have moved away from the school, and then we work very closely with council about what's the long-term plan to build infrastructure at the ground, because that was the whole point of it. That's what the community club hub was all about. And the council were really good, but they certainly were smart in saying, well, let's see how successful it is. Well, it's going to be successful.
I've heard some stories about the first GFNL netball grand final and the location of that. What's your recount of that?
I think it was in the car park at Cadinia Park, and we built a temporary fencing. The wind blew it down a few times beforehand. I went down there and lifted it up, but and we had a bit of issues because it was a car park, not a netball court. We did have a couple of injuries, I think, but the crowds were amazing. And it was all linked into the Cadinia Park where the footy was. That was the whole principle that we were trying to achieve, is keep it all together. We certainly worked out pretty quickly that, gee, you're going to need a bigger venue. Having that mixed gender membership at a club changes the culture of the club, and that was certainly one of our goals. I guess a more family orientated environment, and that worked brilliantly. But there was ex-players who only had daughters, and so there was nothing for them at their club. And then when we put netball into there, then they stayed around the club. It's just wonderful to see how it's evolved, but also how it's managed. And that model that we set up originally has probably enabled that. Nicole Peck was the original manager, and so she did a power of work behind the scenes. She was brilliant. She was from St Mary's, and then Darren Harris joined us. He took over from Nicole, I'm pretty sure, and he ended up becoming a senior bureaucrat at the Department of Sport and Recreation, so it was a stepping stone for his career as well. Sarah Birch, Lisa Manzak, Caroline Morgan, they're the sort of people that worked here full-time or part-time to really get it working. So once those systems were in place, I played a secondary role in it and let them, as I say, let the cobblers do the cobbling, The people in football and netball have never forgotten me, and I certainly have never forgotten them. I'm really proud of where it is, and same with the Geelong Junior Footy. We restructured that too, and that's massive as well as the netball. Probably the most pivotal one was was here, the Heighton Reserve, in the meeting, where we had the first meeting was with the each club's representative was, well, are you in or you're out? You know, yeah, we're in, and then how many teams? You know, so we settled on that first meeting really how many we're going to have. Then they had to go away and find their venues and players and whatever. And then the second meeting was settled. What time are we going to play? Yeah, pretty sure it was only 2 games. And they all said the A grade we play at 1, finish by 2, so we can watch the senior footy. Okay, that sounds like a good idea to me. And one girl said, oh, but we can't do that. Why not? Because my boyfriend plays in the seconds. And one of the girls said, well, tell him to pull his finger out and make the ones. And when I heard that and saw that attitude and the humour, you know, the people that laughed at that, but I thought, they're committed here. This is on, you know, this is going to be a real success.